All right, so let us begin with another video, continuing from where we stopped in the previous video, still on nutrition. So here we'll be looking at animal nutrition. And then to begin, we'll start by talking about enzymes. Enzymes are biological catalysts that are made up of proteins. They speed up the rate of reactions, and they can be catalyzing a breakdown reaction, which is called catabolism, or catalyzing the build-up reactions, which is called synthesis or anabolism. Now, if you look at this group of enzymes here, beginning from amylase, amylase acts on starch and converts starch into maltose. Catalase acts on hydrogen peroxide and breaking it down into water and oxygen. Pepsin usually act on protein and convert them into peptides, while lipase break down fat into fatty acid. So here we have phosphorylase, which usually catalyzes the formation of starch from glucose 1-phosphate. All right, so let's talk about food substances. Food substances could be classified into the following. You have carbohydrates, you have proteins, you have lipids. Those are the primary three groups. Then you could extend and talk about vitamins and minerals and roughages. Now for carbohydrates, of course they are organic compounds. That means they contain carbon. In addition, they have hydrogen and they have oxygen. This is their function. They are used as an energy resource, and they are essential for respiration to release energy. And of course, they are used in creating cellulose, which is the substance that forms cell walls in plant cells. Okay, so if we classify carbohydrate further, we would have the monosaccharides, we would have the disaccharides, and we would have the polysaccharides. So here we have monosaccharides. They are the smallest in the subclassification of carbohydrates. They have the chemical formula of C66H12O6. Okay, examples of monosaccharides are glucose, fructose, galactose. Another example would be ribose, which is a 5-carbon sugar. For disaccharide, we have the lactose, we have sucrose, and we have maltose. So for disaccharide, they have 2 monosaccharides joined together. Then you can also talk about oligosaccharide in some cases. That is when it is more than 2, when it is between 2 to 10 monosaccharide being joined together. But when you are talking about when it is above 10, then you will be describing polysaccharides. And in this case, each molecule are joined together, they form a very long chain. Examples will be starch, glycogen, and then cellulose. They also compose of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but their ratio is quite different than that of the carbohydrate. So one fat molecule is made up of a glycerol unit and 3 molecules of fatty acids. So what is the function of lipids? Lipids, basically, they are essential for storing high amount of energy. Then we go on to talk about proteins. They also contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. In addition, they have nitrogen and sometimes phosphorus or sulfur. So we have animal protein, and then we have plant proteins. So that depends on the source of the protein. Of course, we can also talk about vitamins. In this case, vitamins do not provide, they do not give any energy. All right, and we have different types of vitamins. We have the fat soluble and the fat insoluble vitamins. So it will be right, the fat soluble vitamins and the fat insoluble vitamins. Okay, so we go on to talk about we also have another class, minerals. We have refuges, and we have water. So now let's go on to talk about the mammalian tooth. Into the mammalian tooth is divided into three parts. So you have the crown, you have the neck, which is the gum here, and then you have the root. So this is this diagram is a cross section. This is the enamel, which is the outermost part. You have the dentine, and then you have the pulp cavity that contains nerve fibers and blood vessels, and of course you have the cement that holds this structure in place, and of course you have the jaw. So if we consider dentition in mammals, dentition simply is the number and arrangement of teeth in the mouth. And we have different types of teeth. We have the incisors, we have the canine, we have the premolar, we have the molar. Now we also have this special type of teeth in carnivorous animals, which is called the carnassial teeth. Pay attention. It is made up of the last upper premolar and the first lower molar. That forms the carnassial teeth. Now, if you zoom in on this diagram of the jaw of a dog, you will see the last upper premolar and the first lower molar constituting the carnassial teeth. All right. So the dental formula for man, for dog, for rabbit, you should pay attention to understand that there are two incisor up and there are two incisor down. Now, the way this dental formula is derived is just, if you have, for example, the jaw, if I say this is the lower jaw, for example, I want you to imagine the dental formula such as this. It has to be divided into two sections. So whatever you have here, for example, to get the total number of teeth, you have to multiply this number by 2, and that is the numerator and the denominator. You have to multiply both of them by 2, because consider that this is just, the formula is showing the teeth from only one side of a partitioned jaw. All right, so you have to multiply by 2. So if you multiply this by 2 and this by 2, so you are going to have 4 over 4. If you multiply this by 2, by canine by 2, you have 2 over 2. Then the same thing. By the time you total everything, that will give you 32. So this is the dental formula for man. This is the dental formula for dog. They have 4 premolar, okay, and they have 2 molar here, and then 3 molar down in the lower jaw. So if I show you this, for example, if I show you this dental formula and ask you what is the total number of canine teeth in the dog, what would the answer be? So you have to multiply this by 2 and this by 2. So that will be 4 in total. The total number of canine teeth here in dog and in man would be 4 using this formula. So for the rabbit, they do not have the canine teeth. So that portion of the jaw is vacant. I mean, there is no teeth there, and that space is called diastema. Now let's talk quickly about the digestive system. Of course, the digestive system is a long tube that leads from the mouth to the anus, but from the mouth down to the anus, you have different regions of the digestive system. All right. So first we have the mouth, and when you're taking food, food enters into the digestive system through the mouth, and here food is broken down mechanically using the teeth and also chemically by actions of enzymes. So the enzyme in the mouth is called ptyalin, and it acts on starch to convert it into maltose. Then when the food is swallowed, the esophagus allows the food to travel through by a process called peristalsis. All right, and then the food gets into the stomach. Now you should also know that at the entrance of the stomach here is a group of muscles that are called the cardiac sphincter. So they regulate the entrance of food into the stomach. If we then go further in the stomach, there are two groups of enzymes. You have pepsin and renin. Pepsin acts on protein, converting them into peptide, while renin is actually redundant in adults, but in children it helps in the coagulation of milk. So you have pepsin and renin in the stomach. Also you have, don't forget, you have HCl, hydrochloric acid, in the stomach, which helps to regulate the pH of the stomach. So that's why the pH of the stomach is acidic and the pH of the mouth is alkalinic. So that's the work of the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Also, the hydrochloric acid also helps to kill bacteria that are present in the food. Then after some time, the food leaves the stomach and it goes into the small intestine. And when it leaves the stomach, it leaves through this group of muscles called the pyloric sphincter. And in the small intestine, the upper part of the small intestine is called the duodenum, and that's where these three group of enzymes would act on the food. Amylase will act on starch and convert starch into maltose. Then you have peptidase acting on protein to convert them into polypeptide. And then you have lipase that converts lipids into fatty acids and glycerol. So once the food is properly digested, all right, it's the large intestine. There is nothing going on there in terms of digestion. The food is completely digested in the small intestine. So what happens here is that as the food moves down through the large intestine, water is reabsorbed from the chyme, because at this point the food is still referred to as chyme. It's a watery liquid. So as it moves down, then water is reabsorbed and nutrient is also taken away from this food. So that happens in the large intestine. Then we talk about the absorption of the food in the large intestine. So as food is moving through the small intestine, for example, before going into the large intestine, we have these structures that are on the surface, epithelial surface of the large intestine. They are called the villi, singularly called vilus. So this is what the vilus looks like. They have rich vascular networks that helps to absorb nutrients from this food, and the nutrient is distributed into the circulatory system. So from here it goes into it goes to the hepatic portal vein, to the liver, and the liver helps to absorb nutrients and then does a lot of other functions. So here we are going to quickly mention what the liver does. It helps in the regulation of blood sugar, deamination of protein, detoxification of harmful chemicals, manufacture of blood plasma, and of course storage of iron, storage of vitamins A and D, production of bile, and reservoir for blood production. So there's a lot here to talk about, but of course I will not be able to go into all the details, but I'm just giving the general overview and the short gist, so you can get more details in the book. Yeah, to wrap up, there are different tests to determine these classes of food. There is a test for starch, which uses iodine as well, and starch would respond by turning blue-black. That is a confirmatory test for starch. There's also another test for sugar, for glucose. So we have what is called reducing sugar and non-reducing sugar. So what makes a sugar reducing and non-reducing would be the presence of what you call the aldehyde group, CHO. So glucose is a good example of a reducing sugar. For non-reducing sugar, when you add sucrose and add HCl, so you add also sodium hydroxide, that neutralizes the acid, and finally you can add your solution, either your Benedict or Fehling solution. You also get a red precipitate. All right, and then we have Sudan 3 solution. In this case, this is a test for fat and oil. So when you add Sudan 3 solution to mixture of fat and oil and is heated, there's a red coloration that appears before boiling, and it turns blue-black. It turns black precipitate after boiling. That is a test for fat and oil. You also have another test for protein. For protein, there are actually 3 different tests. You have a test called Million's test, another called Biuret test, another called xanthoprotic test. Now, the end product of all of these tests is that the Biuret test will turn into violet coloration. The xanthoprotic test will turn yellow, okay? And then upon cooling, it becomes orange from yellow. And the Million's test will be a red, a deep red coloration. I want to stop there. Let's consider some questions based on what I've said so far. I've really overshot the time. Okay, take for example this question. Which of the following is the dental formula for man? So let's look at this table. Which of the following is the dental formula for man? Man is 22112233, and that will be the option C. This is the right answer. So the kind of teeth used for tearing food material is the, okay, so that's the canine. Okay, the evidence that a tooth is a living part of the mammalian body can be found in the, where do you find the evidence? Enamel doesn't show anything because enamel contains, is the outer part, so it doesn't show that the teeth is living. The pulp cavity, where you have blood vessels and you have nerve fibers, is actually the true test that the teeth is a living part. All right, so couple of questions There are a lot of questions. So the correct route for food, for bread eaten by mammal, would go in this direction. You have the mouth, esophagus, the stomach, the duodenum, you have the ileum, and you have the rectum. That seems to be the answer. So straightforward. Yeah, that's the answer. That's the answer. Without wasting time, this is the right answer. All right. So another question would be this one. Which of these is the terminal portion of the alimentary canal? Of course, the terminal portion would be the rectum. Okay, so on that note, I want to thank you for spending the time and going through the lecture with me. I will stop here. If you have other question, please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.